Hi, welcome back to Black Girls Build 2. Today's video is going to be a quick and fairly simple DIY project. My plan is to turn this empty space into something more functional like this. So stay tuned to see how I built this storage bench. So let me give you some background on why I chose this project. So my family needed a place for shoes, to put shoes right at the front door and any other random items that we needed to store. So I looked online, I found a bench, but it was the wrong color, it was too big, and it was more expensive than I was willing to pay. So my solution is let's try to recreate it and customize it to the dimensions that I need for my space. My first step was figuring out the dimensions. I don't have a ton of space to work with, so this is going to be a fairly small bench, but I did head to Lowe's and found some wood, and everything costs $100. So the goal is to keep this project right at $100. So first step is to take the measurements for the cuts that I need to make. So I know the overall dimensions of the bench, so I did a little math and headed to my miter saw. So I am using 1x2 select pine boards for the legs of the bench and 12-inch edge boards for the body. I cut the 1x2s into 4 pieces and did the same with the boards. So I am assembling everything with this bench with a combination of pocket holes and wood glue. I started off by drilling pocket holes into both ends of the shorter pieces to begin assembling the legs. I placed the short pieces in between the two sides, making sure that the pocket holes are facing down so they won't be seen. I used a speed square and clamps to hold everything together while I screwed in the pocket hole screws. You want to make sure to apply wood glue to all the pieces for an even stronger connection. So after making sure that the leg could stand on its own, I assembled the second leg and then I moved on to working on the body of the bench. So when cutting the middle pieces for the body, I made sure that they are the same length as the middle pieces on the legs. So just like the legs, the body is assembled with wood glue, pocket holes, and clamps. Now this is where it got a little tricky. So in typical Erika fashion, I did make a mistake with one of my cuts, which caused me to run out of wood. Since I wanted to make sure to keep this project around $100, I ended up using 3 scrap boards to close the bottom of the bench. So I made sure that the pocket holes were all facing down and on the bottom of the bench so they wouldn't be visible when the top was open. So I used a ton of clamps, pocket holes, and some wood glue. I also had to bring out my mallet, but I got the bench closed up. So I was able to figure out how to get the bench built as well as the 2 legs. Now the thing that I'm running into is I added some more storage space by making this bench a lot deeper than the inspiration picture. So in doing so, I've added weight to the bench. And right now these 1x2s are not going to be strong enough to support the weight. So I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to add extra pieces in to strengthen the legs to be able to support the weight of the bench, and if someone sits on it. I also need to figure out how to attach the legs to the bench in the most secure and strongest way. So I think I have that figured out, but I'm going to experiment and see if it works. I added wood glue to the leg and clamped it down to the bench. I then went inside through the body and drilled pilot holes and screwed in 2-inch wood screws to connect the leg to the body of the bench. Here I used another 1x2 piece and glued it to the body and then pocket holed it into the legs. This is how I'm strengthening up the legs and also giving me another point to attach the body to the leg. To cover up the pocket holes, I added another 1x2 piece on top with wood glue, and then I used the same 2-inch wood screws to connect them both to the body of the bench. Since I wasn't able to use my clamp at this stage, I used some weights from my gym to apply pressure as I'm screwing in the wood screws through the body. Okay, I had to think long and hard about how to get the bottom row done. So what I'm going to do is attach these 1x2s, and then I'm going to pocket hole sections of 1x3s along the bottom, and that's going to act as a place where you can put your shoes. So because there's not that much clearance, I had to set this up about 1.5 inches from the bottom, so I cut these spacer pieces to do so. And I have them clamped in, and all I'm going to do is use some wood glue and my brad nailer to attach this, and hopefully that'll be strong enough. And then once I secure the pocket hole 1x3s in between, that will add extra security. And I did find some 1-inch brad nails, so it shouldn't shoot through the front. Alright, so we've entered the last stage of this process, which is going to be painting and staining this piece of wood. So this is probably one of the most important parts because it's going to make it look good. So I'm going to walk through the process that I'm going to be doing. As you can see, I'll switch locations because I'm planning on binging some Netflix while I'm going through this process. So the first step is I'm going to be staining our wood. So before you stain raw wood, you want to use a pre-stain conditioner, and how you want to do that is first apply it to the wood, let it sit for 15 minutes, wash off the excess amount of pre-stain, sand it down with a 220 grit sanding block or sander, and then wipe off the sawdust, and then you're ready to stain. So I'll be using an oil-based stain, Briar Smoke by Varathane. I've used this color before and I had some left over in the garage, so that's what we'll use for this. So now the other thing that I'll be doing is, because I like how the two-toned looked on my inspiration picture, I'll be painting the rest of this. So the first step is I bought some fairly cheap primer that you can use. I'll be priming everywhere that I'm going to paint. That takes 60 minutes to dry. And then after that, I went and got the highest quality paint that they had, but in a sample of Iron Ore, which is a black color by Sherwin-Williams, and that's what I'll be using to paint everywhere that you see the 1x2s. And then after everything is said and done, I'll be going over it with polyurethane just to seal it all in and make sure that it can withstand my 2-year-old. So I'll be here for a while, so I'll let you see that process and we'll see how it turns out. Okay, now that that's done, I'm going to be using painter's tape to tape off all the places where I don't want to apply stain. I'm also going to be making just about 1 inch, whatever the length of this painter tape room where I'm going to paint black, because this looks so wide. I want to break it up a little bit and give it a little bit more personality. This is the back of the bench, so the front of the bench doesn't have all of these textures and different colors. It'll be a much smoother finish in the front. Alright guys, so I went ahead and freehand the primer on so that it could be drying at the same time with the stain. So now that I think the stain is dry, I'm going to go ahead and retape because I want the black lines to be really crisp. So I'm going to tape where the stain is and start to paint on the black. And I'm hoping that the black is what's going to make this pop and make it look good. Alright, so the painting and staining is still going on, but before I finish that, I wanted to get the pieces in for where the shoes will go on this bench. So to do so, I'm just going through and making sure that I like the spacing. So I'm going to get everything dry fitted. Once I like the spacing, all I have to do is attach it with the 2 pocket holes on the end, and that's it. So I will be using clips to make sure that everything stays flush to the top of these 2 1x2s. But this is probably the easiest part of this, I hope. So we'll see how it goes. I'm getting ready to attach hinges, so I'm gonna get the hinges attached to everything before I go through and make it all look a lot better with the stain and the paint. So these are just regular door hinges, I believe, that I got from Lowe's, and all I'm gonna be doing is drilling the 3 holes here, and then once this is attached to the top, I'll open it and get the other part attached to the base. And so I will have hinges, and I'll also be attaching a lift mechanism to the top. Okay, so next step, I'm going to be applying these. These are my first time using these lifts, so I'm going to be experimenting with how you attach them. So it came with these two pieces that were not attached. So one of them will attach into the base and the other one into the top. So this will prevent it from slamming to the back or slamming closed. So the lift just works like this. So I have it right now. It is resting on the wall about the angle that I want it to open. And so that way I'll know where to put these, and hopefully it works since it's my first time. There you have it, guys. So I was able to take the inspiration picture and build a bench to meet the dimensions of our space, and I think it turned out pretty good. So if you're interested in plans for this build, comment below and let me know. If enough of you comment, then I'll try my best to put some written plans together and get that out. Other than that, make sure you check out some of our past videos and subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment, do all of those things, and I'll see you guys next time. So as always, be strong, be courageous, and go out and build some shit. Bye.